Macroing and use of bots is one of the most controversial yet most broken rules in both Oldschool Runescape and RuneScape 3 since its original release back in 2001. However, some players, as the game develops and grows, feel that bots might be doing more good than harm for the game and its integrity. Is this true? Do you feel the same? And does the report system even work as intended in-game? In this video, I'll be discussing a lot of these subjects and giving my view and opinion on these topics. If you feel the same or have a different opinion and want to discuss it, feel free to leave a comment down below or come to my live streams here on YouTube and discuss it with me in person. I'm always open to discuss these topics around botting and reporting. I think they're really fun. There's a lot of theory crafting behind it and a lot of questions that I think could be answered through Jagex if they are able to ever step forward and shed some light on the situation. My name is King Condor and this is Grinds that grind my gears. Before I dive into the meat and potatoes of this subject, I just want to state that I know botting and reporting isn't necessarily a grind in RuneScape that can grind my gears, but I'm going to put it in this video because I think this format suits it very well for how I want to present this topic. And you're probably thinking, why am I mentioning this in the video? It's a given, it's not really that big of a deal. You'd be surprised if you see some of the comments on these videos that I make. A lot of my viewers, unsubscribed viewers, don't really have a brain, so I kind of have to just address the topic before I read hundreds of mindless knuckle-dragging comments. Now, as you might be aware, when it comes to content creators, if I'm not the only one, I'm at least absolutely the first to jump on the scene and either take Jagex's side during controversial moments, or at least try to see the situation from both sides before grabbing the pitchforks and trying to lynch Jagex and the J-mods like there's no tomorrow. For example, the 117 HD situation, the RuneLite 2 Steam client drama, anything to do with account security. Even during the Mod Trident Stellar and Odablock situation, while I was heavily defending Odablock for the most part, there were certain times where I had to be unbiased and reasonable, where Jagex may have also been in favor, not so much Mod Trident himself, but the company in general, rather than people just trying to lynch every J-mod on Twitter. So given all the facts and obvious credentials that are available on my channel over the past few years, I'm going out of my way here to say that I'm not convinced that Jagex is taking the botting and reporting situation seriously in Oldschool Runescape. This is not to say that the Oldschool team specifically and the J-mods are doing it wrong or that they are at fault here. They are likely doing everything that they can in their power. I'm convinced they're doing the best they can. This could be whether it's a revenue problem from shareholders and the people up top. It could be just a manpower problem, engine limitations. I don't know. I don't have my inside source at Jagex anymore giving me the information I need for this sort of stuff, so it's a lot more theory crafting now and a lot less facts, unfortunately. But I just want to express my concerns and give my opinion that I see as a content creator, as a viewer, as a player, that I'm sure many other people might be able to share the same knowledge or give me some insight on your opinion too. Again, like I said, you can comment down below if you agree or disagree, and you're more than welcome to correct me if I'm wrong or if you feel like I'm wrong in this direction. And I want to start off with the Wilderness Boss update. There's a screenshot I'm going to share here now of Calvarion, the day they added Calvarion, Spindel, and RTO to the high scores. This is 2.5 months after their release. You have 23 out of 25 bots on the high scores front page, ranging from 14,000 kills all the way down to 8,200 kills. Sorry, I'm just trying to read it on my other screen so I can see what I'm saying. This is a problem. And after seeing this, I immediately just assumed that there's no way that Jagex has taken the botting situation seriously. The Dragon Pickaxe is down to 1.2 mil. Because of things like this. I very recently started taking up PKing on a more serious level than I ever have, and I've been camping these 3 bosses. And the amount of bots that I find personally is disgusting. Almost every world on Australia Worlds was filled with bots that required you to basically be a pure to be able to start a fight with them, and even then they would obviously just teleport away. It was obvious they were bots. You knew they were bots. Everybody knew they were bots, yet they were not getting banned. And it took 2.5 months and the high scores to be updated and actually start showing KC for, one, everyone to realize how bad the botting situation is, and two, for Jagex to actually start handing out bans. The fact it was able to get to this point, 2.5 months after their release, after the update, shows me that Jagex either is completely unaware, they can't actually detect a lot of these bots, they're not taking it seriously, or there is a serious hole in their game. Here's a theory I have. I think Jagex relies more than they should on players reporting bots. Because if you go and report people for botting, they will get banned. If you don't report them, they will just bot and bot and bot and bot. Now, this is where my opinion gets a little controversial. There's nearly 230,000 Calvarion KC alone between the 23 bots on the front page. Just there alone. This is bad botting, of course. But I don't think bot farms at Woodcutting Guild are that bad. Because we have an infinite supply of U-logs, magic logs, redwood logs, maple logs on the Grand Exchange at our disposal, which makes the game easier for players and keeps the game engaging for people that don't want to woodcut. How many times have you gone to the Grand Exchange for food and it's already there, cooked, ready to go? Zora scales. That's a little controversial because Zora bots to this extent would be horrible. But in small doses, Zora scales aren't that bad. LMS can be another example of good botting. There's a screenshot here of me getting 11 kills, including myself. That's literally half the lobby I wiped out. Every single one of them were bots. But depending on the time of day, it's not always nearly as bad as this. It's a perfect example, however, of keeping the minigame active and interesting. There's always a fight and always a game to go on within LMS. We know they're all bots. We know that they're being pushed there for bots, but Jagex doesn't ban them, even though they're clearly there. Do you see what I'm getting at here? Bots that make dart tips, so you can just buy the dart tips and make the darts. Easy fletching XP. Those are great. I think that is a strong point for the game integrity, and I think Jagex knows that. I think Jagex is aware of that, and that's why they're not banned as often. Absolutely, and I support that. I want to get that clear. I support that completely. I think that's totally fine. Instead, they will just try to capture the gold sellers when they try to sell the gold off the bots. That'd be the best way to go about it. Stop the gold sellers, ban that, ban the gold, then ban the bot, reset the farm. Perfectly fine, because you're never going to beat botting. You will never beat botting, you'll never beat hacking, you'll never beat scamming. You just can't. You just find preventative measures. You just try to shut it down where you can. And I think this is a piss poor effort. Personally, as a player, I think this is a piss poor effort when it comes to bot banning. This should not be going unchecked. And this makes me feel like Jagex is relying too heavily on players to report bots rather than actually finding bots themselves. Now, again, this is just a theory. This is my opinion. This is what it looks like if this is just Calvarion to begin with. If it were possible, I would love for the JMod team to reach out to the community, whether it's through a post, like a news blog on their website, or even a Twitter post, and shed some light on how bot busting is broken down. Now, I'm completely aware they don't really want to expose their methods so people know how to avoid being banned as botters, and I get that, and that's totally fine. So if there is a fine line that can be found, it would be great to just kind of shed some light on how the bannings are even handed out. For example, when the Mod Trident situation happened, they said they were handing out over 100 bans for real-world trading. It would be awesome. I think it would just be interesting as a player to know when that goes down, how it goes down, and what processes are being taken, so that we can have a better insight to how it's actually being managed, because this doesn't look good. There's a tweet that recently came to my attention here behind me. I'm just going to read it off my monitor for you. Basically, someone is asking Mod Ash if the anti-cheat team is working on something to help combat the botting epidemic. Mod Ash then replies that there is something coming that should help, though it's a rather long-term investment rather than something that can land quickly despite the benefits it'd bring. What I believe this involves is something called Hyperion, or something similar to a Hyperion anti-cheating system, which won't work with RuneLite because it is a legacy Java client, but it will work with the new client, meaning the Steam client, which will eventually come to the Jagex launcher that was going to have all of RuneLite's amazing features when Jagex eventually throws RuneLite in the bin. It is happening. RuneLite will eventually be phased out from the game, whether it's 2 years or 5 years from now. Java is going once they perfect and finish everything they need for the new client, and anti-cheat is a core concept of that. With mobile botting, it's not really going to work with that, but for the Steam and main PC client that's going to come to the launcher, like I said, C++ is going to have the best anti-cheat system they can to try and combat botting the best that they can. Now, as I said, the Dragon Pickaxe is down to 1.2 mil at the moment, and the Rev Weapon upgrades are also down horrendous in price because of things like this. Some of you might not care, it's just botting, what can you do about it? Just keep playing the game and let Jagex do their thing. That's fair, but that's where I kind of want to segue this video into the next section, which I think is the report system, which is just more evidence as to why Jagex might not be fully utilizing their resources, or at least why they're relying too heavily on players to ban and punish other players or other bots for their actions. The report system, I don't think is being taken seriously or with context. I'll give you an example. I had the name child labor. I don't think that's a name worth banning, in my opinion. It's a good name, great name. I miss it very much. But the point of this video is not to get that name back. The point of this video is to express that I feel like that the JMods, or at least Jagex in general, is relying almost independently on players to report other players, to enforce bans, name changes, mutes, you name it. Like, the detection system just almost doesn't exist or is barely ever used. It's purely just, unless they're reported, they're not getting banned. I think the Calvarion on the high scores page is a perfect example. I guarantee you they are reported, or they got banned because people reported them, either through Twitter or through in-game going, finding them and reporting their names. There's no way that Jagex knew they were botting until they ended up on the high scores. So I think the same thing happens in game. Now, I thought child labor would be a great name for the game because Jagex had Chinese investors, and if the most Chinese thing you can do is support child labor. So if anything, I'm supporting the company. But it was confirmed to me that, long story short, there's a clan that was stream sniping me. I 1v1 their leader on stream, smoked him, blasted him off the map. My clan also cleared their clan like 4 weeks in a row in the wilderness. They say they're a social clan. I think socially inept is more fitting for them. But they admitted to repeatedly reporting me for offensive name change to get my name changed. It happened twice. So there's your source, which made me think that makes a lot of sense. And yes, while child labor, I'm sure, is very supportive for the Chinese investors. And then I thought, yeah, to be fair, snitching on your peers to get ahead in the game is probably one of the most Chinese things you can do. So it makes sense that kind of trumps child labor, and child labor gets banned for that. That's totally understandable. However, the other thought process I have is I'm pretty sure the anti-cheat team is spread across both like Old School and RS3, so it's more of a Jagex thing than an Old School team. But I feel like they rely heavily on other players to report other players, which allows other players to determine who and what gets banned, and also just allows other players to get away with shit like botting and real-world trading because they're not getting reported. Another example that I'm going to give, if I can get the screenshots, they'll be up behind me. If not, I'm going to give the best context possible that I can remember. A friend of mine was testing the mute system, and he used the word retard in a sentence that was not really bannable contextually. You know, like for example, I was working on my car on the weekend and I had to retard the timing on the motor to get it running smoothly again. Why should you get banned for that? The word retard or retarded gets asterisked out in game, and you get muted for it almost instantly. One, why is it being asterisked out and handing out mutes? Like, to me, that's backwards. It should be one or the other, to be honest with you. Either get muted, but you can read the word, or asterisk out the word and leave players alone. My mate went to appeal it. Twitter said go here and appeal it. Their average time to respond to an appeal is a week. The mute is for 10 days. I know it's only a mute, it's not a ban. But my point is, whether it was an auto report or someone reported them in the clan, because sometimes you get away with saying it, right? But if someone reports you for seriously offensive language, then you get banned, or then you get muted instantly. Without context. You can appeal it, they will barely appeal it, there's no context. Automated systems, what are you going to do about it? I don't think it's been taken seriously, and I think that's just further evidence. While it might appear that offensive language and offensive names seem to be copying the front of requiring other players to get other people name changed, muted, and banned, it is evident with the way Wildy bosses are working that bots are kind of following the same trend. If you don't report bots, they're not getting banned. The third example I'll give, which everyone has experienced, but if you haven't, go to the Grand Exchange and just stand there, like for 5 minutes. Bots will log in, spam a message, advertising real-world trading, cape services, botting, whatever services they can, they'll hot world instantly. Log in, spam, hop. It stops people reporting them, and that way they can just keep hopping and botting. Hopping and typing, sorry. Hopping, type, hop, spam, hop, spam. Why aren't these bots banned? Jagex can see that. You can see that. You know they're there. But you're relying on players to report them for them to get banned rather than, like, even having some sort of system set up for that. Allow me to offer a fix, Jagex, for bots like this, because to be honest, no one is hopping worlds, typing out a full text box of message and then hopping again that quickly. That's bot behavior. Here's a suggestion that I have. If a player hops worlds 3 or 5 times in a row, okay, and types the same message every time, hits enter and hops world, ban them. Even if it's just a 24-hour ban. Here's why I say 24-hour ban. In case it's a real player. Just in case. Because you know there's going to be some thick bag of shit out there spamming, I got a big cock, hot world. I got a big cock, hot world. And then gets banned and goes, why am I banned for 24 hours? I'm not a bot. The response to them is, stop acting like one and play the fucking game. Only the dumbest of the dumbest will fall for an automated bot banning like that. But it just proves my point even further that I feel like regardless of the rules in the game, if you are not reported or if you do not report them, there is a highly, highly likely chance that they will never be banned. They will never be muted. They will never have a name change. Do you agree with me? Am I wrong? Jagex, please respond. I would love to hear your take on it. I would love to see if you can provide the community with just a little more transparency so we know what's going on. And that way I can have a better idea of how to take advantage of getting bots banned as well. That's pretty much my ramble over. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section or come to the live streams here on YouTube and say your piece. My name is King Condor. Like and subscribe. Have a good night. This is the easiest room in the raid. It's quite simple. You got a big boy. Look at him. God damn. Fuck me. Look at that boy.